She's starting with her eyes closed because we're focusing on interoception. That is a sensation of what is happening inside the body, removing the external world, but being awake. Really, really helpful for finding the posture and more quickly establishing that connection with your posture and your body. We're starting here in the half kneeling position, serratus anterior. She's doing an awesome, awesome job of getting that full protraction and retraction of the scapula. I highly recommend this as a warm-up. You get the hip mobility in the half kneel, and then of course the warm-up of the shoulder blades at the top of the workout. And now she's getting that middle back by pulling the band apart. I would recommend make sure that you keep the wrist in a nice neutral position while holding the band. It's so easy for the wrist to be a little bit too flexed or sometimes a little too extended. And when holding the band, and holding a band, whether it's a TheraBand or a pull-up assist band, such a great way to work on your wrist alignment. So find that neutral wrist. Here she's holding plates instead of holding weights, and she's doing a really great job of maintaining wrist alignment here. I like cueing, pull the shoulder blades together when the arms bend for this one, and then setting the shoulders in a nice neutral position as she extends the arms out. We are at 2 times speed here just so we can get through the entire class. So she's, not actually moving that fast, even though she could. Here again, warming up the lats, getting that lateral work with the agility right at the top of the session. She's doing a really awesome job of tapping the forehead, keeping the arms at a 45-degree angle. I would recommend, again, focusing on neutral wrist alignment. I think that might be the focus of today's session, is when holding the band, can you push your pinkies out just a little bit more so that the band is not pulling the wrist together? Because when we're holding weights, when we're holding bands, we're doing a lot with wrist strength and working on that wrist alignment. Now here, holding that plank, focusing on loosening the ab ribbon around the waist with the hard exhale, really getting the transversus abdominis. Her form is really, really nice. Keeping the ribs closed, of course, an internal rotation, setting the upper transversus abdominis and all those muscles that set the posture, set the ribs, set the deep abdominals. Very helpful toward the beginning of the session. She's doing a great job of keeping her low back super stable as she alternates the knees and those modified mountain climbers. So important for SI joint health and stability and reducing low back pain. Now here, putting the band around the ankles to come up to a single leg balance and getting a combination of the psoas and the hip abductors. She's doing a really great job of keeping her right hip still as she works into that overhead press, and the elbows are at a nice 45-degree angle. That is where I prefer to do the overhead military press for shoulder health. Really, really nice work. Here in her kneeling push-up, I think she can get a little more hip extension, or rather focusing on the low abdominals to create even more of a neutral spine so that the pelvis isn't left in anterior tilt. So easy for the pelvis to be in a little bit of an anterior tilt when in a kneeling push-up. You're really challenging those hip flexors in that kneeling position. And so I don't always cue this because I don't want you to move into too much of a posterior tilt when doing that, when doing any exercise under resistance. But sometimes in a full push-up or a kneeling push-up, I will tuck the pelvis a little bit just to make sure the pelvis doesn't sit in anterior tilt and actually gets to a neutral position where, the front and the back core is really working to help support that pelvis. Here, working into that hexagonal agility with the weights and a combination of a teaser. Really, really nice work. I think about head stability when you are doing the agility movement. So keep your head very still as the arms move out and in so that the head stays stable while the arms work dynamically and the feet work dynamically. So you're really setting almost like you have that, that little toilet paper tube between the chin and the chest, which you're doing a great job of when you get to the teaser. So think about holding that head position when you go into your agility pattern as well. Now, getting the booty. Here, holding, she's doing a great job of keeping that left hip back. As we're working on serratus anterior on that right shoulder blade, kind of like we did in the warm-up, where she's going, pinch the shoulder blades together, push them apart. Really nice work keeping the head stable and keeping that left arm stable as she isolates the movement of that right shoulder blade in the quadruped. So really, really nice work there. Here, the rowing pattern in the single leg. I think that you can get even more hip extension on that right hip when you come up, meaning full glute squeeze, extending through the hip. Imagine that you're giving yourself a mobility exercise on that right leg, and you're fully mobilizing the hip joint when you come up to the standing position, so that the pelvis isn't left in any sort of anterior tilt on that side, because you're starting in a place of hip flexion. So make sure you get that awesome work here. We're getting some plyometrics from that deep squat. She's doing a great job of getting her right knee out over the second and third toe every single time she comes down from that rotational squat. So now we start again from the top of that series where we're doing the left shoulder blade, and notice how beautifully that shoulder blade is moving. I think you can keep that left hip up a little bit more when holding that position. Don't let the left hip dip down. So use that right glute to keep the left side of the pelvis up, because mainly we're working on right hip stability and core, multifidi, obliques, to prevent movement in those areas as we work on that shoulder blade. Beautiful, beautiful work here in the row. Excellent mechanics. Jamie is also a trainer and a massage therapist. She knows the body very, very well. So she has excellent form. And so it's just helpful, really helpful to use her as a model here. The horizontal row looks beautiful. Amazing wrist alignment. Really good with that, with that rotation pattern. Again, she's doing a great job of keeping the arches lifted on the landing from the jump, which really helps to protect the knee joint and keeps the knee in a nice position when she lands from that jump. Going back to that hexagonal agility, but this time working the shoulder rotators. Great way to burn out and challenge and strengthen the shoulder rotators at the end of the session, and also get the heart rate up one more time. Here, we're working the lats as we do the agility side to side. She's doing a great job of keeping the arms at a 45-degree angle. Again, don't overflex the left wrist. So even here with the band around the hands, try to find your neutral. She's in a great neutral with the wrist. I know we're using that example a lot here, but I think there's a lesson to be learned on focusing on the wrist alignment when doing all of these activities. Nice work, keeping the knees in alignment there. And then same thing here, where, she's going side to side with that agility. Beautiful, beautiful. Nice work. And then I love ending in this half kneeling position. Such a great way to mobilize the hips. Full glute squeeze on the way up. She's doing a great job of keeping that right arch lifted and keeping that knee between the second and third toe, that right knee particularly, as she goes up from this half kneeling position. Great job, Jamie. Thank you so much.